The sun was dipping lower in the sky, casting long golden streaks across the park. Through the air as swings creaked and a ball bounced on the grass. On a weathered bench near the trees, a young nanny sat quietly, her hands busy stitching a small tear in her old canvas bag. Every thread was placed carefully, as if repairing the bag could somehow keep her fragile world from falling apart. She looked tired, her clothes simple and worn, but her eyes carried a gentleness that softened her face. It was then, just as she bit off the end of the thread, that she noticed a small figure by the swings. A little girl stood there alone, her shoulders shaking as sobs broke from her tiny chest. Other children ran past her, too busy in their games to notice her fear. The nanny's heart clenched. She didn't stop to think. She rose to her feet and walked quickly toward the child. Kneeling down, she met the girl's frightened eyes wide and wet with tears. "Hey, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice soft like a lullaby. "What's wrong? Are you lost?" The little girl hiccuped through her tears, unable to answer. Instinctively, the nanny reached out and brushed a loose strand of hair from the girl's damp cheek. "It's okay. You don't have to be scared. I'm here now." Her tone was steady, calm, as if she could wrap the child in safety just by speaking. The girl's trembling slowed. For the first time since she had been standing alone, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. The little girl clung to the nanny's hand as though it were drifting away. Her small fingers were cold, her knuckles white with fear. The nanny lowered herself onto the grass beside the swings, gently pulling the girl down with her so they were eye to eye. "Shh," she soothed, rocking her slightly the way she used to with her younger siblings. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you." The girl sniffled, her lips quivering. She finally managed a broken whisper. I couldn't find Daddy." The nanny's heart squeezed at the words. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small wrapped candy, one she had saved for herself to give her a little energy later, during her long walk home. But she didn't think twice. She pressed it gently into the child's palm. "Here," she said with a warm smile. "A little sweetness always helps chase away the scary feelings." The girl hesitated, then unwrapped it with trembling fingers. The first taste brought the tiniest smile to her tear-stained face. The nanny brightened. "See, the magic candy. Works every time." To distract her further, she leaned in and lowered her voice like she was sharing a secret. "Do you want to hear a silly story? Once there was a cat who believed she could fly. She climbed the tallest fence in the neighborhood and spread her arms like wings." The girl's eyes widened. "What happened?" she whispered, momentarily forgetting her fear. "Well," the nanny chuckled. "She jumped, and instead of flying, she landed right in a laundry basket full of socks. She was stuck there, mowing so loud that the whole street came running." She giggled softly, adding, "From that day everyone called her Captain Sock Cat." The girl let out a small laugh, the sound fragile but real. She leaned closer, resting her head against the nanny's shoulder. For the first time since the tears had started, she felt safe. A sudden shout echoed across the park. "Lila!" The little girl's head snapped up, eyes wide. She scrambled to her feet, still clutching the nanny's hand. From the far end of the park, a tall man in an immaculate suit was striding quickly toward them, his polished shoes crunching against the gravel. His expression was sharp with panic, every step laced with desperation. "Daddy!" the girl cried, her small voice breaking. She let go of the nanny's hand and rushed forward, throwing herself into his arms. He scooped her up instantly, holding her so tight it looked as though he was afraid she might disappear if he loosened his grip. "Oh, thank God," he murmured against her hair, his voice trembling. "I thought I'd lost you." The nanny stayed where she was, rising slowly to her feet. Relief filled her chest at the sight of the reunion. But as the man lifted his head, his eyes locked onto hers. They were sharp, guarded eyes, the kind that had seen betrayal before. His jaw tightened. "Who are you?" he demanded, his tone clipped, protective. "What were you doing with my daughter?" The nanny lowered her gaze respectfully, her hands twisting together nervously. I found her crying by the swings," she explained softly. "She was alone. I just didn't want her to be scared." Before the man could respond, the little girl leaned out of his arms, pointing back at the nanny. "Daddy, don't be mad. She helped me. She made me laugh. She gave me candy." Her small voice was full of urgency, as if she was pleading his case for her. The CEO froze, his arm still wrapped around his daughter. He looked back at the woman again, and though suspicion still lingered in his eyes, It was slowly being replaced by something else, an unwilling gratitude he couldn't ignore. The nanny instinctively took a small step back, her worn shoes scuffing the dirt as if she hoped to melt into the background. She didn't want to cause a scene. The father's expensive suit and commanding presence were worlds away from her own patched dress and tired eyes. She lowered her head, murmuring, "I'm just glad she's safe. I should be going now." But before she could slip away, his deep voice cut through the air. "Wait." The nanny froze. Slowly, she turned back to face him. His tone had shifted, less sharp but still firm. He adjusted his daughter in his arms, the child now calm, still holding on to the candy wrapper like it was treasure. "You didn't have to stop," he said, studying the nanny carefully. "Most people would have walked past, but you didn't." She offered a shy, almost embarrassed smile. She was crying. No child should feel alone like that. I only did what anyone would have done. His eyes narrowed slightly, not in suspicion now, but in thought. He noticed her hands, still trembling faintly, the calloused fingers of someone who worked long hours without rest. He noticed the worn strap of her bag, stitched together with neat, careful lines, proof that she couldn't afford to replace it. She wasn't just anyone. She was someone who gave kindness freely, even when life hadn't given her much in return. "You're wrong about one thing," he said quietly, his voice low enough that it carried a weight. "Not everyone would have cared." The nanny shifted uncomfortably under his gaze, unused to attention, especially from a man who radiated authority and power. "I didn't do it for thanks," she whispered, her eyes lowering again. "I just couldn't leave her." Beside him, the little girl tugged on his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, she made me feel safe." The words were soft, but they struck deep, both in the father's heart and in the silence that followed.